Testing, testing, 1, 2. Ooh, I hope I can last for this one. I didn't get a drink in advance. Fantastical Parade, I think is the name of it. Set B2 has just been leaked 1 day early. Well, technically not even 1 day early. It drops in about 12 hours. I thought it'd be fun to make a little video about all the new cards. I haven't looked at almost any of them yet, only the ones that were in the trailer. I did jump ahead a little bit and look at all the trainer cards just to see if there were going to be some trainer cards that would affect some of the cards in here. Um, I do just have, pictures of all the leaked cards, so we're going to be looking at it like that. We've done it once before like that, so hopefully it won't be anything freaky to you guys. Hopefully it'll be nice and legible. Um, Look at that real life ladybug. Was that Yuka Mori, something like that? There's like one person who always does these little clay models that just puts them in real life somewhere. Um, Nice to see Ladybug getting a little bit of. I think we've actually already had a Ladybug. I think we had like a 50 damage for 1 energy Ladian at some point. Looks like a very middling pair of cards, Ladybug and Ladian. That Ladian actually has very low HP compared to a lot of stage ones that don't evolve. Is not affected by weakness or any effects of your opponent's active Pokemon. That's really funny, because like it's colorless, so you could run it in any deck color, but that's just a downside. It's not affected by weakness or any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. Like, yeah, sure, if it's an Onix that uses Dig, you can hit it through the Dig, I suppose. Um, but not affected by weakness is it just means if the opponent's weak to grass, then you don't do bonus damage, which is a little unfortunate for the Ladian, especially when it's already like not a super high HP Ladian. I wonder what they think you're going to be hitting through, because the main thing that you want to ignore is Oricorio's ability, and this can already hit Oricorio. I guess, because it's a grass type, you can always use Eric on it, but it looks really bad. Alright, let's not focus too much on the terrible cards. We got Shuckle My Beloved. Guard Press. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes minus 20 damage from attacks. The energy is a bit too high. If this was 1 energy for 30 damage, I think this would be playable. But the fact that it's 40 for 2 is kind of iffy. Or if it was like 50 for 2 or 60 for 2, I can see this being okay. Just a little stall card, but needing to put 2 energies on an early game stall card just wastes too much time for your later cards. It's nice card art, though. Um, or you wish it had an ability or something like that, like Shuckle EX does. Minus 10 from all damage as an ability would maybe be good. Roselia and Roserade. I think we've had a few of these guys now. The Roselia is like Ponyta. And the Roserade... Isn't this just a better version of a Roserade we already had? I think we had one that just poisoned the opponent and did 50 damage on 2 energies. I think that one had 100 HP, and this one only does 90. I could be wrong there. But that looks kind of like good. Also locks the opponent's retreat. And then that's a really valuable benchmark. 50 plus poison means 60, and 60 kills a lot of stuff in one touch. Probably not a playable... Well, probably is a playable card, but probably not good enough to actually make like meta decks around. But it is kind of novel. Cacnea, that was a 3 diamond, by the way. I wonder how many... There's like 220 cards in this set, and I think there's only 1 pack, from what we know. So depending on how many 3 diamonds there are, it might be a huge nuisance to get them all. The Cacnea does not look amazing. I have a little bit of a weakness for Cacnea, because my first ever shiny was a Cacnea. Little orange fella. And I will always be fond of it for that reason. Cacturn. If your opponent's active Pokemon has damage on it, does 60 more. That's pretty good. The energy cost is too high, though. Is there any synergy with like anything we have already? I mean, obviously it's got a colorless energy, so you could use a baby to help hit that benchmark. And 120 HP is pretty good, but I think 3 is really the nail in the coffin here. I can't ignore 120 damage, that's nice. But 3 energies is just a bit too much. If it was weaker and only cost 2 energies, I think that would be probably alright. It's very thematic, though, because you obviously want to put like a rocky helmet on this Cacturn so the opponent hurts itself attacking you. And then you could just hit it back for 120. It sounds like a fun little strategy, but probably not anywhere close to meta. We got Chespin. We got a Gen 6 starter. Right? I think so. And Quilladin. Their grass starters always have this like slightly higher energy cost that makes them kind of aggravating compared to the other starters. Quilladin's retreat cost sure is pretty high. Chestnut. Needle Lariat. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, do 80 damage to the attack. That's pretty fun. I can't lie. The attack cost is too high, but that is a good effect. It's only kind of good. Like, yeah, the opponent can kill it and kill itself in the same time. And just doing that, removing your mon that has 4 energies on it, is a huge setback for you. It does have colorless energy requirements, so you could use a baby to help power it up. You could also run it with Superior, but I don't think that Superior plus Chestnut, it takes up too many cards in your deck. I don't think envision it being very good for that reason alone. 160 HP on a non-EX card is great, though. A lot of times people don't run attacks that are strong enough to kill this. I mean, I guess Blaziken will kill it because of weakness. Blaziken and Mega Blaziken EX. But a lot of cards are just not strong enough to one-tap something like this. So they might need to attack it twice with that cool little Needle Lariat attack. And that's quite strong. And most people don't run, like, Red doesn't work on Chestnut, and Giovanni, most people don't run, and it might not even be strong enough to give you a kill threshold. Most things don't do 150 damage. Um, Looks probably, it's close to playable. Unfortunately, you'd much rather have something that just does 160 damage instead of 80, and then require the opponent to attack you. But doing 80 every attack is still very good because the opponent can just sit there and ignore you if you're just swinging for 80 every time, every turn. So they do have to try to wear the Chestnut down, but they've got to be really careful about how they do it. It looks like a pretty fun card, but I doubt anyone's going to explore it in the whole lifespan of the set, or maybe the game as a whole. Scatterbug and Spupa and Vivillon. You know what's kind of funny is that uh, they kind of balance how good you are as a card with what stage you are in Pocket. So Mons that are stage 2 can often be very strong. That's a pretty good one, even if they're early game butterflies. Scatterbug doesn't look good by any stretch. Spupa is good, I guess. I like how they're leaving it open for Vivillon EX. If you want some fun Pokemon trivia, I think Vivillon is Pokemon 666 in the Pokedex, right? So there you go. People were speculating about that for a long time. It's like, what will the Satan Pokemon be? And then it ended up being a cute little butterfly. Um, Poisoned and Asleep. So it's like a very middling Mega Venusaur EX. The HP is okay. It's not super high for a stage 2. Um, the attack is pretty cheap, but if it was cheaper, it'd be even better. It's like on the cusp of. It's not really playable. It's kind of novel. If the opponent like stays asleep, you could get a kill, I guess. If they have like 130 HP, your first attack does 70, and then 80 if they get put to sleep and stay asleep and stay in, and then what? 70 more. That's 150 damage across 2 turns if they stay asleep. That's pretty good. I can't lie. Probably not playable. A regular, ordinary Buzzwole. It's a new Ultra Beast. I mean, I know that Buzzwole's an Ultra Beast, but I'm surprised they're bringing the Ultra Beast mechanic back. I just thought I wouldn't see that there. So this is going to work with Lusamine. I wonder if there's any other Ultra Beasts they snuck in. That's nice. We haven't seen any Lusamine support in a long time. Lusamine is a very good card, and the only thing holding it back from being one of the top cards in the meta is there aren't that many cards that can use it. If your opponent's gotten exactly 1 point, this attack does 40 more damage. You can very easily build a deck around that. I will say that. If you just don't even have an EX, or if you have early game cards that, if your EX is something that is like a stage 2, if it's like Jumpluff or something like that, and you lose a Hoppip in the early game, the opponent will only have 1 point, not 2. Meanwhile, if it is a Jumpluff, it probably won't be the first Pokemon the opponent kills. So a little bit of Jumpluff synergy there. I don't know if it has synergy with other beasts. Obviously, you can get both its energies on it immediately by using Lusamine, so that's a lot of fun. So, like, you put your early game Kartana out and you do 40 damage, and then the opponent kills the Kartana, and then you throw out this Buzzwole, and you put your grass energy on it, and then Lusamine the other grass energy on it, and then you can just, hit for 80 immediately, and then continuously hit for 80 until they kill this or Sabrina you out and kill something else. It is a basic with 2 retreat cost, so that's a little annoying. Maybe you'd want to run this in a deck with Leaf or something like that, just to make sure the right things are out first. But I can actually see that being used in existing Lusamine grass decks going forward. That's actually a pretty interesting little card. 2 energies for 80 damage is pretty good. I honestly forgot this Pokemon exists. Gossifleur. If you put a gun to my head and told me to say this Pokemon's name, uh, I would um, I would just say, goodbye world or whatever. Because I don't think I even knew this thing. What's the evolution? It's like a little cotton guy, isn't it? Not Whimsicott, but the other one. It's a very nothing card. Don't know why I'm spending so Eldegoss. Float up. You may shuffle this Pokemon and all attached cards into your deck. It says you may. That seems to suggest there's a choice in the matter. So that's better than that one, Purloin that like automatically shuffled itself into the deck and you didn't have a choice. Um, it's kind of fun, It starts getting a little wounded, and you're just like, let's put it away again. You'd almost rather discard it. It's only going to be doing anything in the early game. Um, so like, I don't know. It's gonna thicken out your deck, which in a way that's probably not going to be very useful. This Ogerpon was in the trailer, so I've already seen it. It looks like a very good card to me. The HP is almost tied for lowest of all EX cards, and there's no damage mitigation or anything like that on the card, although it does look like a very good card even with all that. Um, First of all, Soothing Wind. Each of your Pokemon that has any energy attached recovers from all special conditions and can't be affected by special conditions. That obviously just means Ogerpon, if it's the active Pokemon, because only active Pokemon can have special conditions in the first place. But it does work from the bench, so, just having this on your bench means that you can't be poisoned or something like that, if you have energy attached. I don't know if that's going to be good enough to run this in non-grass decks. Probably not. Like, most status is balanced already. You don't need like a status cure mon. But I do appreciate this like aromatherapy grass mon that we're getting. Feels very thematic for grass to have like a little status healer guy. And Ogerpon's one of my favorite Pokemon, so I'm glad that she got to do it. Mixed feelings about Ogerpon not wearing the mask in the card art, but maybe we'll see other Ogerpons in this set, and maybe they will be wearing the masks. The mask is there, so whatever. The attack looks really interesting and probably pretty good. It's hard to say how good it truly is. 60 for 2 energies is already not bad. It's not amazing. It's definitely not amazing. It's not like an endgame card or anything. But then it calculates the energies of both active Pokemon and then does um, 120 if it's 5 or more. And the fun thing about that is that if you have 2 energies and your opponent has 3, you're doing 120 damage. That's not super, you probably, if the opponent has 3 energies, you're probably just getting killed next turn if you don't kill it. If it's like an Arceus or something like that. But 120 damage plus a red is enough to kill an Arceus, I suppose. Anyway, if the opponent only has 2 energies, you can actually just put a third energy onto this Ogerpon, and then from there you're doing 120 on something that's not as powerful theoretically. Or 4 energies on the Ogerpon, and you're doing 120 even against things that only have 1 energy, etc., etc. And the cool thing about that is that it works with Superior really well. And this is only a basic, so you can afford to put it in a Superior deck, unlike some of the other things on here. Or Leafeon or something like that. Any kind of grass energy ramp is going to be very strong with this card. Because if this thing has like 2 energies on it, but Superior's in play, then it's doing 120 damage almost all the time, if the opponent has any kind of energy at all. So, but 120 damage is kind of good. It's not crazy. It's not super good. And then the HP of this thing is really holding it back. It's probably a decent basic. It doesn't look amazing, but it's hard for me to evaluate how strong it's truly going to be until we have the meta. I don't know how many EXs are in this set, by the way. That's all the grass cards. There we go. Fire. Not too many fire cards. We got Reshiram. I mean, Zekrom's probably in here somewhere. I doubt they'd have one, but not the other. Alolan Marowak is interesting, because we had Kiawe to put 2 energies onto that. Right? I think so. We got Dancing Alolan Marowaks again, but it doesn't look like where the fire trial was. Um, 2 energies. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. Is that good? It's kind of good. It's 2 energies for 60 damage, and burn is Burn is perhaps better than poison. Honestly, it's about as good as poison. Um, Kiawe getting the energy on it for free is novel. It doesn't really look like it has amazing synergy with Kiawe, because Kiawe also ends your turn. I think Kiawe can be used on benched mons. So, like, you get this, you evolve this on the bench, and you put your energy on your front mon that can't necessarily attack, and then you play Kiawe on your Alolan Marowak in the back or something. I don't know. It looks like it doesn't need Kiawe to function, but it looks like Kiawe doesn't help it that much. It means it can't attack on its first turn in or whatever. Because normally you want to. I mean, it couldn't anyway if you were leading with Cubone and going first. But if you're leading with Cubone and going second, you get first fire energy on it on turn 2, and then second fire energy plus evolution on turn 4. It's the earliest you can get that off. And then Kiawe would be doing you no favors. I think you wouldn't bother to run this with Kiawe, but unfortunately I think you just wouldn't bother to run this. Reshiram, Blue Flare, discard 2 fire energies. We got another one of these. Honestly, like, they're playable. There's quite a lot of them. Just like strong cards with high energy requirements that discard fire energies. Very good friends to cards like Moltres EX, etc. Flame Patch makes this a lot more playable. Magby or whatever makes this a lot more playable. It's probably okay. I don't like that it's a basic with the 2 retreat cost. That makes it very awkward to run alongside Moltres. A lot of Moltres decks do actually run Leaf. Or, you could always run, what's that card, Lyra or something like that. I don't know if people run Leaf or Lyra these days, but I think people have kind of generally moved away from having cards like this in their deck if they can help it. Having something like this and needing to run Leaf or Lyra is just a huge pain compared to just running things that only have 1 retreat cost. Because X speed is so much better, or even not even, you can get away with not even running X speed a lot of the time. Nice HP on that Litleo. The Pyroar's HP is a little bit less impressive. It's a female Pyroar. That's a lot of fun. I feel like they always show the male off in the promotional for this thing. So, 2 energies for 70 is not amazing or impressive or anything like that, and there's nothing else kind of going on with this card. It's alright. You wouldn't bother to put it in a deck. Oricorio. I don't remember the name of this one. There's like Sensu, Pom Pom. I don't remember. This is like the default Oricorio, I think. This one might not have a name. I think the regular Oricorio is the fire one. During your next turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do plus 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. This was in the trailer too, I think, because I remember that effect. It's a pretty interesting one. It's like a red for your next turn. But the card itself is so unimpressive. Obviously, you can just run this on any deck. You could have this on your Blaziken deck, and then just in the early game, just do Inspiring Dance over and over. And its first is doing 10, but all its feature ones are doing 30, so it's not that weak. It's definitely not as strong as like a Furfrou or Farfetch'd or something like that that can just hit as much or more every turn. But then, as soon as this dies, or as soon as it's forced to switch out or something like that, whatever comes in, your Mega Blaziken EX comes in and is doing 140 instead of 120, plus the burn. It looks playable. It's hard for me to evaluate, and then you can also play alongside that. You can play things like Sabrina Osiris because this is not a supporter effect, so you can use it alongside supporters. It looks okay. It's hard for me to say. We got a Blacephalon EX. There was notably only one fire type, Ultra Beast, which made Lusamine plus fire decks very awkward to run. So again, we have another Ultra Beast, and again we have some Lusamine synergy. Really good Lusamine synergy, actually. This is a really funny one. First of all, this is not a sitting duck if it comes in early. It is a basic with 2 retreat, but you do have that nice 1 energy attack. That being said, the fact that it does no damage is a little unfort, but burn can do as much as 40 per turn if you're lucky enough. Hold on, I gotta sneeze. Thankfully I did it. And then Lusamine is really neat with this card. If you lead with it, you've got to build up to Pop Punk naturally, which is very awkward, very bad. So that's a concern with this card. You would like to run something to like switch it out and have other mons in the early game. But 40 damage, 140 damage is a whole lot. That's really powerful. That's a nice threshold to hit. A lot of good mons have 140 HP. So being able to one-tap them is very nice. And then discard 3 fire energy. I appreciate that it says 3 and not all, because that means, if you run this alongside Moltres or something like that, you could just get a butt ton of energies on it and still attack every turn. And then also 3 energies means you can, after attacking, you can just Lucamine 2 of the energies back and put your turn energy on it and then attack again right away. So Lucamine allows this attack to attack repeatedly. And then uh, Flame Patch can also help it attack repeatedly, although obviously it's not as effective as Lucamine. You could run this in a deck with 2 Lucamines and 2 Flame Patches, and you probably would actually if you were going to try and run it. Looks playable to me, actually, genuinely. Lucamine is a good card. This thing being able to attack with no setup, like just have it come in the late game and being able to reliably get 140 damage with, like, even if you just play it, like if you just have 1 in your deck and you play it in the late game, on the turn you play it, you can get 3 energies on it thanks to Lucamine, and then you can just nuke something. Score Bunny, looks standard. Rabu, that's nice power on that. 1 energy for 40 is pretty good actually. Only 8 HP is not great, but it's not bad. That actually looks like a pretty good card. But where's the Cinderace? Fireball Shot. During your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. Interesting. And it says you can't attack, not you can't use this move. So, what's that? Memory Light won't help you. 120 is a lot. 2 energies is very cheap. It's very reminiscent of Cinderace, just looking at it. Because it's, Cinderace. It is Cinderace. It's very reminiscent of Infernape. Because the free retreat cost, plus only being able to attack every other turn. Obviously, Infernape is better because it just discards its energy, so Flame Patch allows you to actually attack repeatedly. Or, whatever. But it does look probably playable. 120 is still a lot of power for 2 energies. Even if you're only attacking every other turn, it's alright. 130 HP is not good, though, but at least you can retreat for free. And then we do have another Ogerpon. We have the Fire one. Hearthflame Mask. This one's not an EX. Flip a coin. If heads, take 2 fire energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your bench Pokemon. So you always do the damage, and then you have a 50-50 shot of getting 2 energies. Probably not playable. Honestly, you'd probably rather... It is a basic, whereas Flareon was a stage 1. But Flareon, you could kind of... Flareon people already didn't run that much. The regular Flareon. The Assisted Flame one. Or Assisted Heater, or whatever it was called. And that one was a card that you were already running the basic anyway, because Flareon EX was used in the deck. So, I don't see this... The coin flip is very painful. If it didn't have the coin flip, it was just 2 energies every time, and 40 damage and 80 HP, I think this would be a maybe. I don't even think it would be a hard yes. But the fact that it's a coin flip just is really brutal. This is close to playable. Obviously you could run it with Will or something like that, but that's a nuisance. Close to playable. I wouldn't touch that one. People were talking up the new Ninetales. I haven't read it yet, but people said it was really good. Alolan Vulpix, Gnaw. Alolan Ninetales, Binding Snow. During your opponent's next turn, they can't take any energy from the energy zone to attach to their active Pokemon. We've seen this card before somewhere. Was it Sableye or something? It has existed. That's a really good effect. I can't lie. And it also doesn't say anything about, even if Ninetales, even if you kill them on in front of you, they can't put energy on the new active Pokemon. So being able to, it might condemn the Pokemon in front of you to death, depending on how good the situation is. Against some decks, this is going to be really, really strong. If you're just running up against some high HP early game mon that needs a lot of energy, such as Giratina or Darkrai. If you're just using this attack on it every turn, then it can't ever hit its energy requirements, and it might not even be able to hit its retreat requirements, which sounds very good. I guess there's technically synergy with Misty. You can also just get 2 energies organically. 2 energies is not very much to build up. 150 is pretty good. There is a card that's powering up stage 1s, and this is a stage 1 EX. So there's a card that helps you draw stage 1s as well. So there is a little bit more stage 1 support than there's ever been before. in the current set. So this is going to be a little bit better than it looks. 80 is not incredible. It's one of the weaker EX cards that exists. But that effect is potentially very obnoxious, but also potentially useless. But it really might just help you kill the thing in front of you reliably, you know? Weakness to metal is nice too. Galarian Mr. Mime and Mr. Rhyme. I find it a little bit funny they specify it's Galarian Mr. Rhyme even though there's no other one presently. Icy Snow, it's got good HP for a basic. Flip 3 coins, this attack does 60 damage for each heads. That's a good effect that we've seen before. Who had that? It was like Bellossom or something, I think. There was like some stage 2 that had it. 60 thresholds are very valuable. There's a lot of mons with 60 HP, there's a lot of mons with 120 HP. And I guess, you know, there's always the 180 is enough to kill just about anything. Anything but a mega. But 3 energies is a little pricey, but water has good energy ramp, I guess, technically, sort of, kind of. You've got energy, you got elemental switch, you got like Mantike and Manaphy, and I don't know, Misty, and Misty and Misty. It looks too inconsistent for me. You got inconsistency to even get the energies on it, and then inconsistency to attack with it. But those are nice thresholds. Delibird, Box of Surprises. Flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 70 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. If tails, heal 30 from your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's replicating present. Obviously, you would run that with Will because healing the opponent sounds very useless. Or not even useless, actively detrimental. 2 energies is awkward. Even with a baby, I wouldn't love running that. With an effect like this, it is. I mean, 70 is not nothing. And I guess it's just if the opponent has full HP, it becomes 70 or 0. Pretty funny effect. It's very thematic for Delibird. This is what Delibird actually does in game, but it does not look like a good card at all. We got Mudkip. People were waiting on the Gen 3 starters forever. We already didn't have Trico though, so I guess we're not going to get all of them. But at least we got Mudkip. They did choose to give it a water energy, which means that the Swampert is probably not going to be a fighting type. Holy smokes, it's Mega Swampert. I forgot. I forgot the Gen 3 starters have Megas. Marshtomp looks not great, not bad, not great. Swampert, large whirlpool. Discard a random energy from among the energy attached to all Pokemon. So that's like Mega Gyarados, or excuse me, just Gyarados EX from Mythical Island. The fact that this uses 3 energies to attack means that it's a very real possibility that you lose an energy from the Swampert, which is annoying. But obviously that effect can be good if you're just, you know, lucky. And then Mega Swampert does the same thing, but it picks 2 energies. So I guess the idea here is that in order to not disrupt yourself, the most effective thing is to just flood the entire field with energy. Run this alongside like Manaphy to get as many energies on things as possible. 150 is good. Even on 3 energies, 150 is good. 230 HP is a whole lot. You could have this as a kind of middle game card. You could absolutely have it as a late game, end game card. The problem is if you only have like 3 energies on your whole field and they're all on this guy and you use Strong Arm Destroyer, there's a very real chance that you just discard 2 energies from yourself and then you can't attack again. However, there's also a very real chance you discard multiple energies from your opponent's mons, and that could be very, very disruptive for them. So this is a very chaotic card. I think it probably is good, but it looks very chaotic. It definitely looks playable. This is one of the better cards we've looked at so far. All the EXs so far have looked playable, I think. But I can see people actually running that in like ranked and stuff. We got Vanillite was revealed in the trailer, and we also got Vanillix and Vanillish. It's a new Sweets Relaymon. That's funny because Vanillish in a previous set, Vanillish was a Sweets Relaymon, and I think Vanillite as well. I don't remember about Vanillite. And then Vanillix wasn't. So it went from like 2 Sweets Relaymons to like a regular mon. We haven't had any Sweets Relay support in a long time. 120 damage on 2 energies is actually awesome. I can see this being used in all Sweets Relay decks going forward, believe it or not. Water Sweets Relay is definitely something you can run. It doesn't have to be grass. You can do only water, and you would want to do only water if you're charging up a mon that has, um, only water energy for requirements. But doing 120 on 2 energies is no joke, especially if you've got like if you've been building up to it with something else on the bench. A Vanillish that just did Sweets Relay, like that'll power up Vanillix's Sweets Relay, stuff like that. And then the HP is pretty good. Sweets Relay, is it viable? Maybe. Honestly, it's not that rare for Sweets Relay to be able to do 200 or even 240 damage on the Sweets Overload or whatever it's called. And that's enough to kill Megas, so Sweets Relay might actually be back on the table. It's kind of a funny thought. But decks are kind of faster than they used to be, so I'm not sure. Octagonal, Frozen Lock. During your opponent's next turn, they can't play any item cards from their hand. That's quite fun. It's like a Chingling. Probably playable. Chingling is nice though because it uh, doesn't require the energy. But this having that much extra HP compared to Chingling is actually a pretty big deal. And then doing a bit more damage is just icing on the cake, if you get what I'm saying. We got a new fossil. I'm glad that I actually noticed that that's a fossil mon. So the 2 energies for 50 damage is approximately befitting a stage 1. This is going to be a little bit harder to get on the field than your typical creature because it is a stage 1. You can't start with fossils. Discard 2 water energies from this Pokemon. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. How easy it is to get more water energies. Like there's no if that was a Firemon, this would be pretty awesome. But the fact that it's a Watermon, you really need to have like just a lot of energy floating around, and I don't know if there's good means to do that. I really like that Island Vaporeon being able to pass around energies. I wish there was like more stuff like that. But you do have the Manaphy plus Elemental Switch. You know what's funny is I was musing recently. I've never ever seen anyone use Elemental Switch on a water deck. It's quite common on electric, and it's not super rare on fire. But on water, it's just unseen. It works for 3 different types. It's kind of interesting that it's just ignored in that way. Choodle. This is that mon that I just cannot stand even looking at. I won't say anything about it because of that. Both of them have too much energy requirement. The power is nice. I think it was the same for the previous ones, but I think the previous Dreadnought was... I think we've had 2 of them, right? And they've both been 3 energy cards with like decent effects. 4 energies is pretty pricey. This is just Misty abusers. Cramorant. Spit out shot does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It is a Hitmonlee, but it's... No, it's exactly a Hitmonlee. There's nothing different between this and Hitmonlee. Definitely looks good. That's a good card. Hitmonlee's a good card. What's that? Heatmore. Heatmore is a good card. You know, been an effective archetype so far. Barrascuda. We got a new one. I think we've had one before. No, I don't remember. Looks unimpressive. We got a Cramorant diving in the Aracuda picture. That's a nice touch. I've been commenting on the card art. Look at Wellspring Mask Ogerpon. She's like exploring the freaking jungle or something. How nice. Look at that. Don't fall. 40 damage to... So 40 damage to the target, and then flip a coin for 40 damage to a bench mon. 40 is not a valuable threshold, but Ogerpon sure is cute. Probably not a playable card. It's funny having a legendary like this. I don't know, something about that. It's a 80 HP legendary with a 2 energy attack. Ogerpon is cute enough to be allowed to attack cheaply. Not Reshiram though. Pikachu. We got another Pikachu. Interesting effect. I probably wouldn't ever run it. You damage yourself. That's a very good... This same attack is on Fanpy, and I've found it to be very useful on that. Fighting is slightly more useful as a type than electric, but they're both very useful. Let me think. Killing babies is nice. The only 60 HP really makes the 10 damage to yourself very awkward. That's the only thing. But this is probably alright. I was too hard on it. I immediately pictured the Circle Circuit Pikachu. And I was like, why wouldn't you just run that? But actually, this one's okay. Alolan Raichu, Surge Surfer. If a stadium card is in play, you have no retreat cost. That's pretty good. It's not amazing. There is a stadium that raises all damage of stage 1s by 10, and I can see you just running that. And the thing about stadiums is I don't think this means to discard stadiums yet. I think that there can only be stadiums replaced by other stadiums. There's 3 stadiums in the current set. So once any stadium, your opponent can potentially put up a stadium for you, and even if they don't, like once the stadium's up, it's up. So you can just have that free retreat cost forever. So that's kind of nice. But how useful is free retreat cost really? 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. That's a good effect. I don't know if it's a good enough effect to justify 2 energies, or like running this card. Probably not. I just talked so much about that ability, and then it's like, no, I probably wouldn't run Raichu. I don't love Raichu's ears, but I kind of do like its color scheme. I like the riding the tail thing too. They made it too soft and too round. That Pikachu looks nice though. I think this is the OG Zapdos art from the TCG tabletop. I think this is or maybe it's like Rocket. It's like Dark Zapdos or something like that. I think this art has been used in tabletop. It looks a little different to my eyes, but maybe I'm just misremembering because I'm calling back memories from like 20 years ago. Heavy Thunder. One other Pokemon, either yours or your opponent's, is chosen at random one time. Do 100 damage to the chosen Pokemon. I almost feel like that was in the TCG Game Boy game. There was like a Zapdos that did something like this. Just did a massive hit to like some random mon. Or maybe it was a Moltres, I don't remember. Again, like, not recent memories. That's a hilarious effect. Obviously, if you only have the Zapdos and nothing else, you have a higher chance of hitting your opponent's side than your side. However, it is worth mentioning that the Zapdos does not seem to have any failsafe against hitting itself, and also 100 damage is enough to instantly kill it. So imagine just putting 3 energies on this Zapdos and then using Heavy Thunder, and you strike yourself with lightning and you just die. Bit underwhelming. Looks like one of the worst cards I've ever seen, but it's a really funny card, so I'll give it a little bit of leeway. Plusle and Minun. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. That seems to have no obvious synergy with Plusle. With Minun. Minun's card mentions Plusle, though. Plusle looks bad. Looks like Dedenne, but... oh, Dedenne's only 60 HP, right? Oh, but Dedenne... No, yeah, Dedenne's only 60 HP. We have Power Crept Dedenne with Plusle. I think. I think this is just Dedenne, but better. I think we have pure Power Creep. Minun is, if Plusle's in your bench, this attack also does 10 damage to each of your opponent's bench. Oh, that's 30 for 1 energy is already not even bad. And then getting the benched hit is also good. But then you have to dedicate 2 cards. You have to actually run Plusle to get that, and Plusle doesn't really look worth running. New friends for Pikachu EX? Just to fill out your bench? I don't know. It's kind of funny. Did you know Toxel's a baby? It's like on the list of baby Pokemon. That knocked me on my ass. I was surprised to see. It certainly looks like a baby. It's cute. Look at those chubby cheeks. This looks like a bad card. And then Toxtricity. EX! Whoa! This attack also does 30 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has damage on it. Electric, lightning cards have good means of getting damage on benched mons. Like, obviously you have like stuff like Raikou. And you do have, this is doing 100 damage with that new stadium or whatever, I guess. 90 is not very impressive. 3 energies is a whole lot. Now, getting 3 energies on a mon in Lightning is the easiest of any type, because you have things like Pichu, and then you also have things like Zeraora, and I think some other stuff too. Electric cables. So hitting that energy requirement is actually not bad at all. But, I think a lot of the time this is just going to be doing 90 damage and nothing else, unfortunately. But, it'd be a good friend of that one Pikachu that hits bench mons, Spark. Or it'd be a good friend of Raikou, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't look amazing, but it does look interesting. It's kind of fun that Raikou could hit something for 60 and then something else for, 10. And then this could come in and Cyrus the 10 in and do 90 to it. And then hit the other thing for... you got a little bit of freedom there in which thing you hit and which thing you hit on the bench. But, very real possibility that there's just nothing bench that's hurt. Tab Bulb. Charge, take a lightning energy from your energy zone, attach it to this Pokemon. Sure. And then Belly Bolt. We've had a couple cards like that with like Spoink like that with Grumpig, where it's like something that energy ramps itself and then something else that needs 3 energies to attack. Obviously, if you go like second or whatever, you put your 1 energy on the Tadbulb, you use Charge, then the opponent does something, and then you evolve to Belly Bolt and use Electric Ball. Um, that's nice, if you manage to pull that whole little sequence off. Unfortunately, you've got to spend a turn on the field as a Tadbulb, and it only has 50 HP. And then that's not good in the late game where, you can't afford to have to pull off a charge. Belly Bolt's HP and power are decent, but if it doesn't have that opportunity to charge as the Tadbulb, the energy cost is kind of restrictive. Probably not playable. I think the little yellow things on its face are the real eyes. I think they blink or they close when it's asleep. And then these weird white and black things are like tympanic membranes or something like that. Very few electric cards. Psychic is getting a lot of help this set. I mean, obviously the mascot of the set is a Psychic card, but Psychic is looking pretty beefy. And now I'm on the Psychic page, and boy, there's a lot of Psychic cards on it. Galarian Ponyta. I think this is considered to be a very bad Pokemon in the actual games, but I think it's cute. Flop. Looks like a really bad card. It does get a point for being colorless, I suppose, but the evolution isn't. If you have 5 or more Psychic Energy in play, this attack does 60 more damage. Interesting. Very interesting. Because this is a playable early game card, doing 40 for 1 energy. I don't think it's amazing, but it's playable. And then I suppose this is supposed to have synergy with that new Mega Gardevoir, which just puts a butt ton of energies on everything. 5 is a lot, but with Mega Gardevoir's help, you'll hit that number. And then the thing is, that's going to be late game where this thing is going to be powered up. And 100 damage in the late game is not even that impressive. So it's not super impressive in the early game, and it's not super impressive in the late game, but it's functional in the early game and the late game. And most cards like this don't even have a late game at all. So I'll give it credit for that. It looks like you could run it alongside Mega Gardevoir, but I'm certain that Mega Gardevoir will have better allies than this. Wobbuffet, 3 energies, 2 retreat cost on a basic. Oof. 3 energies, does 10 damage to itself. This probably should have been like a 130, 140 HP card. Or like more. 100 is already just not enough, especially when Wobbuffet has a butt ton of HP in the games. Looks horrible. Looks like a really bad card. Just hitting that energy requirement is going to be a huge nuisance, and if you're forced to leave with it, you're just stuck. Snubble. Little fairy type. I did a Pokemon Crystal run just recently, and one of the last Mons I ended up getting, I did retro achievement, so I was trying for, and there was like a retro achievement for get all Mons without trading. Like get all Mons that you can get without trading. And one of the last ones I got was Gramble because I straight up forgot that Snubble evolved. It looks bad. The HP's decent on the stage 1. The power is decent. The energy cost is a little bit too high. I don't see running this even if you're running it with like Gardevoir. It's important to remember that Gardevoir is now an energy ramp for Psychic, so it's going to change the whole like Psychic scape. But we already had. I was about to say, what was the other one besides Gardevoir, and then I remembered it was also Gardevoir. Ralts, Confuse Ray. That's not bad. I would probably run the Teleport Ralts. Kirlia. Psybeam, your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused, so it's the same thing, but now it's doing damage. What are our other Kirlias? Is that good? That might be good. I think that might be good. I think we had one that was doing, one that needed like a bunch of energy to attack. I think it was 2 energy for 40 damage, and then the other one was 1 energy for 30, but it was colorless. I forget. I haven't thought about Kirlia in a long time. The only time I was ever running... I mean, Kirlia doesn't really attack. It just kind of comes in and you evolve it. Take 2 Psychic Energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your bench Psychic Pokemon. Wow. So it's a lot more restrictive than Mega Gardevoir. You're not doing as much damage. You have to come in and attack, whereas the other Gardevoir could do it from the bench. But it's giving you more total energy than the other Gardevoir was. It is a little bit cheaper to attack, too. It's hard for me to evaluate this card. Obviously, you're barely missing out on the kill on a Oricorio, which is a big deal because Mega Gardevoir can't touch Oricorio. That's something I haven't really been thinking about. Is like, what would you use to kill Oricorio? Galarian Rapidash as an Oricorio killer is suddenly looking really cool. Because, like, you get your Mega Gardevoir and then you use some of its attacks to get energy onto stuff. And then Oricorio comes out and walls you. And you're like, no, sorry, Photon Laser, 100 damage. Um, Very interesting synergy there. Again, there's other psychic cards like Sableye or whatever that could just come in and kill an Oricorio. But having something that uses the surplus of energies makes it a lot less useless in other matches besides electric. A big thing with Oricorio is that you really want something that kills Oricorio to also not be bad elsewhere. And how good your deck is often factors onto that. Here's the new poster child of our new set. I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to be a meta card. 210 HP, only 2 energies to attack, which is quite nice. Um, and it's 110 damage, which is really not that impressive. Especially, you're just missing all the benchmarks. Even with red, you're not killing almost anything. Um, but 3 psychic energies from your energy zone attached to Pokemon of your choice. The cool thing about 110 is that it's enough to two-shot almost everything. Now, you do have to be wary of like Lily or something like that. But then this has a new. It doesn't have a trainer supporting it specifically. There's a new trainer that discards 2 psychic energies from a psychic mon and then heals, I forget, 90 damage from it or something like that. And the thing about this card is that it just puts a surplus of psychic energies on all your cards. You're getting 3 psychic energies every time you attack. So you can afford to discard 2 psychic energies to heal 90 HP. I would absolutely run those 2 cards together, and I'd run 2 of that healing card. That's a lot of healing. I don't remember the value. Is it as low as 60? I think it's 90. I don't want to go all the way to the trainers to look at it. It's like a big heal for discarding psychic energies, and people are like, wow, the synergy with Mega Gardevoir is crazy. And then, of course, you can run Lily alongside Mega Gardevoir if you want. You can run like a bunch of healing with Mega Gardevoir if you're so inclined. Looks really strong. Being able to get these pretty big hits pretty early with only 2 energy requirement, and then giving a whole bunch of healing all over your team, and then also I haven't mentioned just using powering up other attackers using Fantasia Force, just put 3 energies on an Arceus. Oh, Psychic Mons. Put 3 energies on a Giratina. What's the high energy a Mewtwo? What's the high energy Psychic type attacker? Something like that. Giratina, or Giratina. That's useful. I guess you could actually run the Psychic type Giratina non-EX to kill Oricorio, because that gets powered up in 1 turn by this thing, and that's not useless in the early game. It's not great. It's not great in the early game. Litwick. It mumbles. Why is my phone blowing up? Who's messaging me? Lampent. Petty Grudge. It's okay. Chandelure, we've got a Psychic type Chandelure. We got a Fire one a couple sets ago. Past Friends. This does 20 more damage for each supporter card in your discard pile. Why is my phone going crazy? Okay, now I know why my phone is going crazy. How many supporters do you reasonably... You can only discard 1 supporter a turn, generally speaking. I mean, technically it is possible to run some kind of card where you discard a bunch of supporters. You could do it with Sableye, I suppose. And there's another card, right, that discards 2 supporters. I mean, not 2 supporters, but 2 cards for a big hit. Cofagrigus, I think. So yeah, you could ramp your supporter discarding, I suppose. That could be a pretty strong attack if you've already discarded. Even if you've only discarded 2 Professor's Research and a Copycat or something like that, you're hitting a cool 120 damage on 2 energies. And you probably do something like that even in the process of building this card up. It's probably playable, honestly. It's kind of a weird thought. It's probably a playable card. Meloetta, I think this one was in the trailer. This is actually my favorite Pokemon if you're curious. At the beginning of your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, put a random Psychic Pokemon from your deck into your hand. It's at the beginning, which unfortunately means if the opponent kills Meloetta, you don't get that. It would be kind of nicer if it was at the end of your turn. You could just play Meloetta and get the effect, and then even if they kill you, you get it. Thinning out your deck is always good. The card does look, it does look able to kill Oricorio. It doesn't look like it would do it reliably. I mean, it's got the same combat parameters that Oricorio had actually. 70 HP and 2 energies for 50 damage. So it's just a coin flip which one wins in a 1v1. Um, looks okay. I don't know if this is going to be better than just like, what's that mon? Cleffa? The one that like just draws Pokemon, a baby? Because that one you can just reliably get the card without, on the turn you use it. But this one can also be used as an attacker. I don't know, hard to evaluate. Pumpkaboo and Gorgeist. Soul Shot. Discard a card from your hand. If you can't, this attack does nothing. So it's like, it's cheaper than the Sableye. It's, I think, also cheaper than um, the Cofagrigus. And then also that's still a lot of damage. So it's very similar to the Sableye, except you have to leverage an evolution instead of an extra energy. And generally an evolution is a little bit easier to kind of commit to than an extra energy, actually. This is a very fine Oricorio killer, and it would also theoretically be a pretty good friend to the Chandler, I suppose. Um, interesting. Interesting. Probably, probably decent. With like Copycat, you could potentially discard 2 supporters in a single turn just by getting a bunch of cards and then discarding the Copycat and then soul shotting another supporter. Stuff like that. You could thin down you could discard some supporters and get Chandler going. Um, Probably playable, actually. Genuinely, probably playable. Mimikyu EX. People were talking about this one. It's quite fun. When this Pokemon is first damaged by an attack after coming into play, prevent that damage. So coming into play is a very specific thing. It's not like when it's in the active or the bench slot. It's literally just like permanently. As soon as it hits the field, that ability is active, and no matter how much like switching in or switching out it does, uh, the ability is constant. And then once it takes damage, the disguise goes away, and the ability's just gone. And the only way to refresh it would be to get Mimikyu back into your hand in some way, which I don't think there's a way of doing that currently. What people were saying about this card, obviously it's tied for the new lowest HP EX card. It's just a regular EX. Um, the interesting thing about it is that um, you're guaranteed to get 2 attacks off because the first attack is just going to break the disguise. Now there are certain cards that say they ignore abilities, right? Ignore effects on the opponent's Pokemon. So I guess there are mons that could hit through that. And I think that would still break the disguise because it says when it's first damaged by an attack after coming into play, prevent it. So, after you've initially been hit, it's not first damaged anymore. But being able to reliably get off 2 Claw Slashes is kind of good for 140 damage. So I'll speak in defense of Mimikyu. I think it's probably decent, and it is just a regular basic. But 2 retreat cost on a basic is also kind of awkward. What if you're forced to leave with it, and then the opponent's just 20 damage, like Charmander Combustion or whatever, just hits you, and then it's like, oh, your disguise is broken, and you couldn't switch out. Sinistea. Flip a coin if heads during your opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage from and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. Sure is cute. Love Sinistea. It's fine, It's like the hide Shinx. Refreshing Tea. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon, we got the male Indeedee. From your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may have your opponent shuffle their hand into their deck. For each remaining point that your opponent needs to win, they draw a card. So that's like Mars. It's Mars as an ability, right? I think so. Very low HP, pretty low damage, but then Mars purely by evolving. Probably not playable, but very funny. We got Sinistea present in Indeedee's card art. That's great. The Indeedee that we had previously, the EX card, is a female Indeedee. And now we got a male one. This attack does 70 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Ugh. I mean, obvious synergy with Mega Gardevoir, but it looks utterly unplayable without it. I don't love this. I mean, it is nice that it can kill an Oricorio, but it looks so bad if you're like, if you're doing anything other than getting if you've got it up before Mega Gardevoir, it looks unplayable. What's next? Fighting. People were saying fighting wasn't helped very much this set. Double scratch, 20 per heads. Fury swipe, 3 coins, 30 per heads. What's our average damage here? It's 45, I guess. I mean, it's on average 30 or 60 would be more accurate. um, not amazing, not horrible. The card art's cute. The Sandshrew is not amazing and not horrible either. Definitely not meta at all. You would never run these. Machop, discard a stadium. I just said that we had no way of discarding stadiums, but then Machop just walked in, and it's colorless, so you can run it in any deck. You could just play the one Machop in your, like, Altaria deck or something, and then just have it come in and shatter, and then leave. What comes in, says nothing, shatters, leaves. Machoke, probably a better Machoke than any of the previous ones we've had. I don't know. It's cheap. I do like that it's cheap. But we have some 2-energy Machamps, so this Machoke leads nicely into those. Discard the top card of your opponent's deck. That's a fun effect. The HP is very good on this, and the power is decent, especially for the energy cost. This is probably playable, especially with something like Lucario or whatever. I've always been waiting patiently for a really good Machamp card, but they're really like taking their sweet time with it. This is okay. I don't think it's probably very good. Discarding the opponent's cards can be very obnoxious depending on what you happen to discard. Discard is very powerful in Pocket, but especially in the modern era where it's more likely that you'll draw out your full deck. If you just force the opponent to discard like a Mega Pokemon or something like that, that can be very disruptive. But realistically speaking, yeah, it's probably not amazing or anything. Nice card art on all these. The Machop one is kind of weird, but I love the Machoke and the Machamp. They look like they're about to rough you up pretty good. Cubone, we have the new Alolan Marowak, so that's why this guy got in. I would rather run the other one, I think, because the other one was, what, 2 energies for 30 damage? Ironically, that's probably better than one energy for 10. Because even just getting 2 energies on it. But then again, this can attack and then evolve and attack again, whereas the other one often can't. Maybe this one's better. Oh, more attacks is often good if weakness is in play. So this will be doing 30 plus 30 if the opponent's weak to fighting. And fighting is a very common weakness. The Meditite looks great. Look at it. I love him. Medicham. If this Pokemon has any psychic energy, attack does 50 more damage. This is a... They're making a Mega Medicham that's exactly similar to Poliwrath that does the same thing as this. But it's like one fighting to attack, 3 energy requirement, and if it has any psychic, it does bonus damage. Fighting Psychic is a pretty awkward type combo to run. But 2 energies for 100 damage is kind of cool. The thing is, like, Altaria already does this. The Dragon type Altaria, you can, like, that one does, if you have any pair of energies, Dragon type Altaria does 100 damage. And that one can hit for 40, even if it's got the same of either energy. So if you get double Psychic on this can't even attack. But if you get double Psychic on Altaria, and that one has more HP, that one's like 120 HP instead of 100. I'd literally rather run this Dragon type Altaria than this. Being fighting is kind of cool though. But I think that one, the Dragon type one is probably better even on a fighting Psychic deck, which is pretty embarrassing for this Medicham. Roggenrola with Mud Slap. We got another stage 2 line where everything costs way too much energy, I can already tell. 30, 70. Nice benchmarks, I suppose. The energy's just too high. It's an EX. This attack does 140 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon during your next turn. Oh. The energy is too high. And then the negative attack effect is too shitty. Absolute nails in the coffin. There's no way this is a good card. It is tied for Venusaur as being the new highest HP EX card, which I think is pretty cool. Non-Mega EX card. it looks bad. 140 is not even crazy. It's just kind of good. Being able to choose your target is very powerful. I'll say that. Even if you're only attacking every other turn, that's kind of nice. Lack of energy rampant fighting is screwing this thing over. What is up with this Drover's face? Where's... Oh, I was going to say where's Excadrill, and then I remembered it's probably a metal type. I wonder if they'll ever make a fighting type Excadrill. Headbutt Bounce. Like Gimbario? Looks like a nothing card. Tyrant, this is a fossil. It is not like Rampardos. This is a high energy. Hammer in for 60. And Tyrannical Fang, if you have fewer Pokemon in play than your opponent, does 80 more damage. Holy smokes, that's a lot of power. However, if you... It says fewer. So if you have one and the opponent has one, if you both have one card in play, you're only doing 100. 180 is a lot. 180 is a whole lot. I cannot ignore 180. I was going to say bad things about the fact that it's a stage 2 and that it's got, like, it's a fossil, but and the high energy. But 180 is some serious power. This could be your last Mon, and this could probably get 2 attacks off because it's 150 HP and not an EX. And if you're doing 180 in 2 attacks, or even a 180 in 1 attack, that's enough to kill a lot of stuff. Probably not great, but I can see people being experimental with it and might have some potential. This attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So it only attacks benched Mons. It's got a little bit more HP than Hitmonlee, but also a little bit higher retreat cost. Hitmonlee is a Mon that frequently wants to retreat, and this will be a Mon that frequently wants to retreat, so this looks just worse than Hitmonlee. I would never run this. Oh, there is the other Passimian that powers up if there's another Passimian in play. So maybe there's that. And that's something that the Hitmonlee doesn't do, is it doesn't power up the other Passimian. Probably not great, though. Phalanx. This one was in the trailer. If you have another Phalanx in play, this Pokemon's attacks you plus 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. This Pokemon takes minus 20 damage from attacks. It's hard to... This is a hard sell compared to Furfrou. Because Furfrou is doing 30 and always has minus 20. And I think has the same HP as this. Meanwhile, this is doing 20, and it's doing 40 with the other Phalanx, and it gets the same ability as Furfrou. So it's only barely better than Furfrou if you have both of them. And if you only have one of them, it's much worse. But it's a fighting type, and Furfrou's colorless, so that's a pretty big deal. It's hard to say. I think Furfrou is probably better, because Furfrou can just reliably kill those babies. And this gun can only kill the babies if, you happen to have both of them. Cornerstone Ogerpon, I think this is the last one. I think we've seen all of them now. Flip a coin. If heads during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes minus 100 damage from attacks. So that's the same effect as Bastiodon's attack. Or was Bastiodon's an ability? I don't remember. That's a pretty funny one. Being able to... Minus 100 is very amusing. Like, yeah, I guess the Tyrantrum could still one-shot you through it. It's like they could have just made it like prevents damage, but it's like no, minus 100. So if they do 120 damage, they still hurt you. This is actually probably the most playable Ogerpon we've seen besides the grass one, obviously. 2 energies with a useful type for weaknesses, and then that attack effect is actually kind of good, being able to prevent damage. Probably not an amazing card, but interesting. Probably not worth running. Dark. We got to the Alolan Meowth. I hate Alolan Persian's face so much. It looks more like Meowth, but it looks so bad. Ooh, this is some low quality text. Flip a coin if heads, discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. It's okay. And then Alolan Persian bite for 40. Looks not good. Alolan Grimer, Alolan Muck. Basic Pokemon in play. Both yours and your opponent's have no abilities. Wow. You could run Alolan Muck on your deck to remove this. I don't know what to think. This is an Oricorio killer that could be used in any deck, but it's a really funny way of killing Oricorio. It just removes Oricorio's ability. It doesn't look like a great card. 70 damage on 3 energies is pretty bad. There's a lot of mons that do that with 2 energies, even in Dark. Like Liepard, I think, can do that. But that ability is quite good. It's hard for me to assess just sitting here how good it is. Because there's a lot of, like, mons with abilities these days. Obviously your Furfrou is going to lose its ability. Is that useful? Not really. Basic Pokemon in play have no abilities. So that removes both Darkrai and Giratina's abilities. People aren't really running either of those cards these days, but it is kind of funny. So Giratina can't bellow and Darkrai can't get its little pot shots. That's funny. That's a really funny card. I might try and like run that. That's a card that's appealing to me, just to see what it does. Galarian Zigzagoon, my beloved, one of my all-time favorite Pokemon. Look at his little tongue. It doesn't look amazing. Galarian Linoon looks pretty good. And then Galarian Obstagoon. This is getting a lot of fuss because of how good one of the trainers is. It has a supporter card that helps it immensely. If your opponent's active Pokemon has damage on it, does 50 more. So 70 is not bad for 2 energies. That's already pretty powerful. And then if there's prior damage, it's doing 120. That's pretty nice. So stick a poison barb on this, or stick a rocky helmet on this, and that's pretty obnoxious. The opponent attacks you. If they don't one-shot you, they're taking 20 damage, and you're hitting back for 140, factoring in the power boost from the rocky helmet. And then there's a trainer card in this set, a supporter that removes 2 energies from the target if your active Pokemon is Galarian Obstagoon, which is insanely obnoxious. Well, how useful it is depends on what you're facing. If you're facing a mon that can just attack with 1 energy, like a Rampardos, it's useless. But if you're facing something that needs like a lot of energy to attack, if you're facing down like a Guzzlord, that's really, really bad for the Guzzlord user. Looks like a good card. Actually, genuinely looks pretty good, especially with the trainer support. Stunky, Spray Fluid. That's nice and vague. I'm glad they didn't feel the need to elaborate. Uh-oh, Stinky. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon tries to attack. Flip for it happening. There's a Weezing that does exactly this, but Weezing has Koga support, and this one doesn't. The Weezing attacks for a little cheaper too. I would rather have that Weezing than I'd have this, but it already, you just rather have Magnezone. This just looks worse than Magnezone. But this is the stage 1. Got to give it credit for that. But I'd still rather run Magnezone, even in a dark deck. If this Pokemon is in the active spot and is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, do 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So the other Spiritomb did 10 damage to every enemy. This one does 10 damage to every enemy once you kill it, and also can just attack for spooky shots until it dies. A little obnoxious. It's just Cyrus bait. The other Spiritomb saw it play for about 20 seconds, and then everyone realized it was bad and stopped using it. And this probably won't even see that. Whiny Voice. Flip a coin if heads, look at a random card from your opponent's hand, and shuffle it into their deck. That's pretty fun, Put that Dark Pendant on this, then discard 2 of your opponent's, or shuffle away 2 of your opponent's cards every turn. Fasten Claws. Flip a coin if heads, this attack does 30 more damage. Not great. Scraggy. Headbutt. Look at it, he's holding a stick. That's me. That's me as a 4-year-old right there. Find a stick and you like it and you hold it. Scrafty, Crush the Weak. If this Pokemon has more energy than your opponent's active Pokemon, this does 50 more damage. That's a fun effect, but unfortunately, Dark is one of the few types of that energy ramp. So you have to, it might be a pain getting more energy on yourself than your opponent. It's a funny card, but is it good? Probably not. Yeah, a good synergy with Sabrina. Sabrina can force them to switch, and then anything they switch into probably won't have energies on it. And then you're just doing 100 damage to it. Can't lie. That's kind of good. Or Repel or something like that. Yveltal. I think last set we had a Xerneas by itself. Now I'm thinking about it. So here's Yveltal. I'm also now realizing we had no Zekrom, did we? I can't picture Zekrom. Was there a Zekrom? I don't remember. Anyway, Yveltal. Discard a random energy from both active Pokemon, so itself too. That's a bit annoying. Without energy ramp, you just can't afford to do stuff like this, I feel. We got Guzzlord. I said there was no energy ramp, but there is technically energy ramp for Dark. It's Lusamine. Flip a coin if heads, discard your opponent's active Pokemon. So that's like, it's discard. It's not even, it's not even like put it back into the opponent's hand or something like that. So you probably don't get a point for this. It's hard to tell. whether you would get a point for this. It sounds like you wouldn't, but it still sounds very obnoxious because it's got a butt ton of HP. It's an Ultra Beast, so you can Lusamine energies onto it, so the high energy cost is not even that much of an issue. Obviously, you can run it alongside Will, although you can't play Lusamine and Will in the same turn. And, you could potentially shuffle away. I shouldn't even say shuffle away. You can potentially just delete your opponent's, Mega Blaziken or something like that. And, if the opponent loses all their mons, they do lose the game. So, unfortunately, the randomness of the card looks very frustrating. But it probably is legitimately playable, as weird as it is to say. Very interesting. Metal. Galarian Meowth. It's cute. We got two different Meowths in the same set. Galarian Berserker. That's a stage 1 that just replaces Persian. I had to think about it. I was like, doesn't I thought that evolved from Persian, but I'm just thinking of Obstagoon. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you play put 2 random Pokemon tools from your discard pile into your hand. So you get tools back. You'd rather they were coming from your deck and not your hand, but that's still kind of cool. And obviously, tool use metal is very quintessential. Like you have the metal apron, heavy helmet has a lot of synergy with metal cards, and then you have things like Skarmory that you run alongside tools all the time. And I think there's another one. I think there's another metal tool I'm not thinking of. Um, probably okay. Probably okay. We got a new Mawile. Cavernous Chomp. It's not amazing. It's cute. It's not amazing. Mega Mawile. People were talking about this one a lot. This was in the trailer, I think. Um, this is the new meme is 19 trainer Mega Mawile. So it does 60 damage, and then every single time it attacks, it's doing plus 30 with infinite stacking. So like 60 on the first hit, 90 on the second hit, 120 on the third hit, etc., etc. Um, even just doing 150 damage in the first 2 attacks is pretty crazy. And then you have 170 HP, which is really really high for a basic. I think it's tied with Guzzlord. Um, it is a mega, so once it dies, you lose, and it's an early game mega. It's not going to be super like coming in the late game and doing 60 damage is just not very threatening. There's a good chance that you're just going to not do very much and then die. But so it's encouraging you to use it in the early game. If you go first, this card looks really awkward, and you can't even run it alongside a baby. I mean, you can, but if you run it with a baby, if you run it with like Magby or something like that to get an energy on it, um, there's a very real chance you just lead with Magby and then just don't have Mawile, or you fail to draw it or something like that. So, probably the single most effective way to run this is unfortunately the 19 trainer version, but it does look like pretty funny in a 19 trainer deck. You just run it with like Metal Apron, so you can't get status and you take less damage. You run it with Adamant or something like that. You run it with Repels and there's no way to break Oricorio if you run it in a 19 trainer deck, so that's very obnoxious. I mean, you could run just 2 Skarmories and a Mega Mawile or something like that. 2 Skarmories and 2 Mega Mawiles. It's not amazing, but it's possible. It's an interesting card. I think people will run it. Probably playable. Excadrill. I mean, even in the middle game, it's not too hard to get 2 energies onto something and bring it in. If your second and third energy are going onto this guy and you come in, you're probably not going to instantly get annihilated by whatever's in front of you. And that'll give you time to get up your first heat up crunch, and then from there you can actually get your ramping going. Excadrill, this is an evolved card. Our other one was doing 50 on 1 energy. This one's doing 80 on 3. That looks terrible. That's just not that strong even for that energy cost. Or especially for that energy cost, I should say. The HP is pretty good, but I think the other Excadrill was 110. And 110 with 50 damage on 1 energy just looks way better than that one. Ferroseed. I love this Mon in competitive. I used to run Ferrothorn in every deck, in every team I made in Gen 5. And 6, actually. Flip a coin of heads, this does 60 more damage. I guess I would budget Will into any deck that I ran that, but I probably wouldn't run that. Ferrothorn's had several, decently playable cards, but I've never seen anyone run any of them. This one looks playable, but it doesn't look amazing. I bet the devs are like, why are people not running Ferrothorn? In our internal tests, Ferrothorn was doing very well. We got a new Honedge. Galarian Stunfisk, Snapping Trap during your opponent's next turn. If this Pokemon is in the active spot when your opponent's active Pokemon retreats, this attack does 40 damage to the new active Pokemon. So, 40 damage to the thing in front of you, and if they retreat, the incoming thing takes 40 damage. That's a really fun premise for a card. Is it good? Probably not. Probably anything that's in front of you is probably just going to try and attack you. Because it's not like you're a crazy mon that, like, the opponent has to run away from. Two energies on a mon that only has 8 HP is also a little awkward. And it doesn't evolve or anything like that. Good with Sabrina. If you Sabrina them into something that they don't want in, and then you do 40 damage to it, and then they probably can't one-tap you, and if they retreat, they get, the incoming thing takes damage too. You'd rather, like, kind of kill the thing leaving the field than hurt the thing coming in, I feel. Oh, they're both good. Honedge. Cut up. This is pretty good. I'd probably run this Honedge. What was our other Honedge? I thought it was just 60 and then 20 damage on one energy. Maybe it was a colorless mon. Double aid. Put 2 coins, does 40 damage for each heads. Looks okay. Doesn't look amazing. And then Aegis Slash. Superb Shield. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes minus 80 damage from EX cards. The energy cost is unfortunately a little too high. The attack effect is very good. Minus 140 damage plus minus 80 damage from EX mons is really obnoxious in a good way for the Aegis Slash user. 3 energies is awkward though. I already saw the Bagon Shelgon. This is the only cards I looked when I was looking at these pictures originally. It's Water Fire, which is 2 types that are very easy to run together, believe it or not. You got babies for both of those. I think we've already had a few dragons. Yeah, Dratini. We've already had a few dragons that use this type combo. It's kind of fun. The Salamence actually looks decent. It doesn't look amazing or anything, but I ran a Gudra for a while, and that thing was a dragon type with 150 HP. Having no weakness to exploit and 150 HP is a really, really nice benchmark, especially when you're not on an EX card, because red won't power up hits against you. So this will like live through a hit from, Mega Blaziken or whatever. And then that attack is really powerful. 150 damage on 3 energies. Obviously, babies will help you hit this damage. I mean, this energy benchmark. Obviously, you can run it alongside something like Ho-Oh, and it would actually be a pretty good ally for Ho-Oh, just thinking about it. That's a lot of power. 150 is a whole lot. That's really powerful. And then, if you have red or something like that as well. The attack effect being negative is unfortunate. But there are cards like Hydreigon that are already doing like 30 damage to themselves every turn. This one doing 50 damage to itself half the time is a manageable weakness. Of course, Hydreigon is mostly good because of how fast it sets up. But I think that this might be playable. Gudra was playable. It just depends on what allies you run with it. Ho-Oh is not an amazing card. So even if Ho-Oh sets this up, I don't know if you'd bother with that. But running it with babies and then something else is probably okay. I can see that actually being good just because the power is so high. And because 150 is a pretty nice little benchmark. And then this card's not horrible either. Little Shelgon. I ran a Sliggoo, which is basically the exact same card as this. Water Psychic, 60 damage, 2 energies. And I got a lot of kills with that. Playable Dragon, not great. All the dragons are very experimental cards. Meowth. We got all 3 Meowth variations in this. If any damage is done to this Pokemon by attack, flip a coin, prevent that damage. Wow. I mean, the HP is a little bit low, but actually this looks kind of good. There are, like, non-evolving mons that do this. There's, like, just draw a card Eevee, And this having 10 less HP but having that ability is probably good overall for this. The Persian doesn't look super impressive, but, I guess there's other Persians. I don't remember what any of the Persians do. Kangaskhan. Flip a coin. If heads, this does 30 more damage. That energy cost is way too high. This looks unplayable. Mega Kangaskhan EX. This attack is used twice in a row. The second attack does 40 damage. The first attack knocks out your opponent's active Pokemon. The second attack is used after your opponent chooses a new active Pokemon. That's a weirdly good effect, actually. 120 damage on 3 energies is not amazing, but it's not horrible. You know, Arceus is doing the same thing. Arceus is doing 130 on 3 energies. Obviously, you can play this with Alima, and that's really good because it's a Mega, so if it dies, you lose. But 180 HP is enough that probably the opponent can't one-shot it, and then you can just remove it from the field. So there's no potential of, like, losing. And then that attack is actually pretty good. I can't lie. 120 every turn is not bad, and then the fact that the damage auto distributes is pretty good too. This actually looks absurdly good when you consider Alima being a way to help it. That being said, getting rid of 3 energies is annoying. It's 3 retreat costs, so there's a really good chance you have to start on this thing, and then you'd have to either just build up the energy on it or like Alima it, and then while you're building the energy on something else. And that could be very awkward if the opponent built up something that can do 180 damage in one go, but there are very few mons that can do that. It's like Charizard Y or something. Sentret. Why is he sad? It's exactly like Sneasel and all the other cards that are exactly like this. There were like some that I didn't even comment on that we've already looked at in this set. Ferret. Headbutt Bounce. I wonder if we'll ever get the realistic Ferret from the TCG. We had that realistic Wigglytuff a few sets ago, and everyone freaking loved that card. I don't know if people know there's a realistic Ferret as well in tabletop. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. There's like a million cards that are exactly this, having a normal type 1. This is just our new Rattata of the set. There's always like a new Rattata for the low-level step-up battles. Smeargle. Once during your turn, this Pokemon is in the active spot. You may look at a random supporter card from your opponent's hand. Use the effect of that card as the effect of this ability. It's very chaotic. Because you could get, like, you know, Copycat and then be forced to play a Copycat, which might not help you. You might get Mars, which would be kind of fun. You're probably not going to get a Professor's Research because most people just play those as soon as they get them. So the only real possibility is either the opponent like leads with it and you just happen to get, you know, you happen to be able to play it on your turn 1. Or if they use their Professor's Research to draw another Professor's Research, you can Portrait to get it like that. But this doesn't consume your supporter use for the turn, I imagine. So you could play a supporter and then still play Portrait, which is, you know, potentially very useful. And then the attack, you know, it can attack. It's not a complete sitting duck. Looks like a really funny early game card, but probably too chaotic to be useful. What's he painting? Lugia. Aeroblast for 4 energies. Flip 2 coins, 40 more damage for each heads. That's a good effect that I think we've seen before. I forget where. It's like a random stage 2 card had that. It's a good effect. But 4 energies and 2 energies to retreat on a basic is a death sentence. I wouldn't run this even on like a Ho-Oh deck or something like that. Tailo and Swellow. Tailo is a nothing card. Swellow is... it's Pidgeot. It's a cheaper Pidgeot. Pidgeot was my favorite card from Genetic Apex. This looks a lot worse than that one, but the fact that it's a stage 1 is a big deal. The 50 damage on a stage 1 is actually a pretty nice benchmark now because of that new card that increases stage 1 damage by 10. The Stadium. I haven't been mentioning that, but that's actually pretty nice. I didn't mention at all during the Psychic section about the Stadium that lowers Psychic retreat cost. Slack off. Yawn. The opponent's now asleep. Best Punch. Flip a coin. If Tails' attack is nothing, doesn't sound that best. And Snoozing Habit. Slacking. Snoozing Habit. As long as this Pokemon's in the active spot, whenever you attach an energy to your energy zone to it, it's now asleep. So that's the same effect as Komala. It was a bad effect, and you don't want it. And then discard a random energy from this Pokemon. That has very, very terrible synergy with Snoozing Habit. Because that means you're constantly putting energies on the slacking while it's active, which means that you're constantly falling asleep. I guess you can run it alongside Ogerpon to prevent any status. That's a fun synergy, so it cannot fall asleep, so you're just doing 150 damage over and over. There's some potential there. This is a very good attempt at rendering slacking in the card game, because this feels very similar to Truant, where you're just like unable to attack every other turn. Credit to them. They found a really creative way to implement it, and there's like a lot more play. Really cool. Slacking. This is a really cool slacking card. Is it good? Probably not, but I would try and run it with Ogerpon and just see what happens. Spinda. This Pokemon is now confused. Awkward to have a negative effect on yourself, but it is quite powerful. I would definitely rather have Furfrou. Tornadus, hello. If a stadium is in play, this attack does 40 more damage. 80 on 2 energies is not bad. Do any stadiums help this? There's a stadium that raises the HP of basics, so you'd run that alongside this Tornadus, I suppose. Kind of cool. I'm not going to say it's like crazy or anything, but it's kind of cool. 40 on 2 energies is definitely not good. 90 HP on a basic is playable, but 80 on 2 energies is pretty good. You probably wouldn't make room for that in any deck. Bunnelby. This makes it look more like a real rabbit than I remember. I think normally we just don't get a really... I feel like I've only ever looked at Bunnelby from the front, and it looks kind of rabbitish. I really like this art of Bunnelby for some reason. It's like it doesn't look the way I remember it looking, but in a good way. Diggersby. This attack does 10 damage for each of your opponent's bench... Oh, to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. I don't love this thing. That's pretty powerful. 2 energies for 70 damage is decent, and then also hitting benched mons is good. This is actually, like, pretty strong. It's kind of funny. Like, there are so many cards that do this without the bench damage. And then this one's doing it with the bench damage. We got another Furfrou. We have a 1 energy, 2 energy, and 3 energy Furfrou now. The 1 energy one looks the best by far. 3 energies is too expensive. Even though this mon effectively has more HP than it appears, because the ability, it's just too expensive. Tentamouse. Put 3 random cards from among Tentamouse and Mousehold from your deck onto your bench. Wow, you just get all of them at once. That's really funny, actually. Because that's everything. This Tentamouse, you can run up to 2 Tentamouse and up to 2 Mousehold. So besides this, there's 3 other cards, and this just draws all of them. That's really great. That's a really funny card effect. I'm surprised we haven't seen that until now. For each Tentamouse and Mousehold in play, this does 60... Oh, flip a coin, 6 per heads for each Tentamouse and Mousehold. So obviously it's flipping for itself, so it's a coin flip, and if you get heads, you're doing 60 damage, and if you get tails, you get nothing. But then the Tentamouse allows you to easily get the other one, and then you're flipping twice, so you're averaging 60 damage on 1 energy. It's kind of funny that it leaves it open for how many Tentamouses, but it's like just either one other or 0 others. I really appreciate the Family Beatdown name. Tentamouse is also just very cute, and Mousehold. Surprisingly cute mons. I like that they're eating Oran berries there in the art. I think from Gen 9, this is one of my favorite Pokemon that they made. It's got a lot of really funny things about it, like Tidy Up and Population Bomb or whatever. And then this card. Just an inherently humorous Pokemon. That's it for normal type. We got a new fossil, the Jaw fossil, and a new fossil, the Sail fossil. Lucky Ice Pop. I peeked at this one as well while I was looking at the trainers. It only heals the active Mon. It's an item, it's not a tool. It only heals the active Mon, but it heals 20, and you flip a coin, and if you get heads, you put it back into your hand. And that's really funny because it's an item card, so you can just immediately play it again if you want. And then if you get heads, you can just put it back into your hand. So it's like they made Misty into a potion, basically. It almost looks outright better than Potion. It's very close to being better than Potion. Potion can heal benched mons. That's the one thing it has over this. But this always is as good as a Potion when healing the active mon, and is occasionally way better. Really funny card. I can actually see it being pretty good. I can see this being in like the very high trainer decks. Protective Poncho. People are talking about this one. It prevents damage from benched mons, or as a benched mon. If you put this on your benched mon, it will not get hurt from the bench. Is it worth making room for in your deck? That's a hard thing to say. It's a hard sell. The fact that this exists is going to make Greninja players a little nervous. I don't know if people are actually going to run it though. But there are certain decks where it's like if a mon comes in early, like things are really bad for you. So being able to protect a Poncho to prevent Cyrus is kind of nice. There's too much chaos. Running a whole card just to like respond to one mon is not ideal, especially because Greninja can attack anything and only two things can be running this Poncho, or only one if you only draw the one Poncho, or the Greninja can get active before you play the Poncho, before you draw it. There's a lot that can go wrong. Obviously, being able to prevent bench damage is inherently powerful in a lot of different matchups, but there are going to be matchups where it does nothing. And then even in the matchup where it's really strong, it's not that strong. There's still a lot of chaos. It's hard for me to evaluate whether this is actually a good card or not. It's an effect that people have been asking for a long time. It's a very powerful effect, preventing damage on benched mons. But is it actually good? Hard to say. Metal Core Barrier. If this card is attached to one of your Pokemon, discard at the end of your opponent's turn. The metal type this is attached to takes minus 50 damage from attacks. This is the card I was thinking of, I guess, when I was talking about how metal had a lot of tool support. So this is just a one-turn thing, but it's more restrictive than Adaman because Adaman is uh, you can play Adaman even if your Pokemon already has a tool, but this needs to occupy the tool slot. But once you discard it, you can then put a tool on, so you can just put this on your Skarmory for one turn, and then put a new tool on it the next turn or something like that. And also, Adaman is a supporter, and this is a tool, so you can play other supporters while you're playing this. It's kind of better and worse that it's a tool. I would say overall it's better than Adaman. Obviously, the effect is way better than Adaman, but like the fact that it's a tool is also just better than Adaman. I can see this being used in metal decks. It looks quite good. The fact that you get rid of it is kind of annoying, though. Like, if you're a metal EX, you're going to want to keep a tool on you. You don't want to just discard it. But that is a lot of damage mitigation. Um, it was funny. There's like a card, like Jasmine does something very similar to this. But actually, you could run this in Jasmine at the same time and just prevent a butt ton of damage all at once. For the two cards that Jasmine actually works on. Diantha. This is like the most forgettable, somehow even more forgettable than Aldler, who you don't even fight in the main story. Heal 90 damage from one of your Psychic type Pokemon that has two or more Psychic energy attached. If you healed any damage in this way, so it is 90. I talked about this card earlier when I was talking about Mega Gardevoir. That's a crazy healing effect. That's a lot of HP. That's like the new biggest healing card in the game, I think. And then Gardevoir really allows you to kind of get that off reliably. Without Gardevoir, it's quite a setback to try and play it. But it can help you get Gardevoir online, I suppose. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Sightseer. She's cute. It's like a Alolan girl, I guess. This looks like a Lola. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Put all Stage 1 Pokemon you find there into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. This is just consistency for Stage 1 decks. If you're running your Rapidash GX, you'd probably put Sightseer in there. Probably good. I mean, Stage 1s are nice to draw even if you're running a Stage 2, but obviously Rare Candy is very nice as well. I think this does nerf Rare Candy a little bit, or not nerf, but like, this is an alternative to Rare Candy, or you could run like 1 Rare Candy and 2 Stage 1s or something like that. It depends on how you're trying to get to your Stage 2, because if your Stage 2 needs a high energy requirement, you don't care how fast you get there. If it's not just running on its ability, or if it doesn't have like a low energy cost. I saw Juggler, because I was looking at the trainers early, and Juggler is one of the funniest cards I've seen. If you use this card, you can use this card only if you have 3 different energy types in play. It moves all the energies to the active mon. There are occasional decks which use 2 energies, such as Dragonite EX. I don't think there's a single meta deck. Ho-Oh, I guess. You could conceivably run Ho-Oh decks with 3 energies. I think a lot of Ho-Oh decks just use Fire Water, but there are Fire Water Lightning ones if you're running it with like Lugia or something like that. Or you could just run Ho-Oh with like, some other type. There's like Ho-Oh plus Darkrai, I think, and you run it with Dark only. It's very rare to have decks with 3 different types, and you can only have up to 3 different energy types. But this is a pretty interesting card if you actually are running three. So I guess if you're running like a colorless deck, which it is possible, you could run like Snorlax plus Arceus plus other stuff. I don't know. You could just have three different energies, and then that would be very helpful. If you're playing like you play your Lyra. No, you can't play Lyra and Juggler in the same turn. I'm trying to think how when it would be helpful to move all the energy to your active Pokemon. Like that's obviously a useful effect situation. Like, I ran a Lunala deck forever, and that was quite useful in that deck. But uh, I don't know. I guess it's good for Ho-Oh decks, and I guess it's good for Snorlax EX. I can only see it seeing play in normal type decks. Right now, there's very little decks that can really abuse this, I think. We got Pierce. That's the one with Galarian Obstagoon. I forgot. Galarian Obstagoon does not have to be the active mon. It merely needs to exist. By having Galarian Obstagoon on the bench, Pierce can cause two random energies to disappear. Good card. Where's our Marnie card? I can't wait to get two-star Marnie. They put two different two-star lilies in the game. Where's our Marnie? This is the one. We got three new stadiums. So the way that stadiums work is you put a stadium in play and it's just there forever, and both you and the opponent use it. So the opponent also benefits from this effect. And then the only way to get rid of it is that one Machop or the opponent playing a stadium card because the most recent stadium card trumps all the previous one. One thing that's kind of interesting in Pocket is that I don't know if it's like this in the tabletop. You cannot play a stadium if the same stadium is already active. So that means that the card is just stuck in your hand, which you'd like to be able to get rid of the card sometimes if you're trying to play a copycat or something like that. But it won't even let you play it if you're removing the same stadium. Plus 10 damage from stage 1 mons obviously is not a huge deal most of the time. Obviously, there are going to be particular ones that kind of appreciate that, like not Tyrant, uh, the little Rampardos, Granados. Granados hitting 60 is quite valuable. But you probably wouldn't run Training Area just for that. The main time this is going to be useful is for decks that use like stage 1 attackers. But it's just plus 10. It's not even like a crazy amount. But those stage 1s that do 70 on 2 energies are now doing 80. Those stage 1s that are doing 50 on 1 are now doing 60. These are valuable benchmarks. Excadrill doing 60 on 1 metal energy is actually a pretty big deal. Probably a decent card. And I guess you could run it alongside stuff like, Mega Steelix. There's a lot of stage 1s that are viable. I'd have to look at the list of, like, cards to see. Starting planes. This one is, a lot of people are talking about this one. Each basic Pokemon in play gets plus 20 HP. Everyone saw this and was like, oh yeah, 50 HP Chinglings. That's going to be great. And then also any basic. So this is actually a buff for Dark Tina. Just uh, even like stuff like Indeedee or like Ogerpon EX are gonna appreciate this. It's kind of just good for everyone. But your opponents also get plus 20 HP. It's worth remembering. This isn't just you. But if you're running a deck that's all basics or a lot of basics, you'd be running this. And then Peculiar Plaza, the retreat cost of each Psychic Pokemon in play is 2 less. I'm going to take a little moment, and we're just going to go back to Psychic and just look at some of the cards. Yeah, Rapidash would be a good abuser. Wobbuffet would be a good abuser. Granbull doesn't look good playable. Gardevoir would be a good abuser, any of them, the whole line. Sometimes you want to get them out when they're in too early, and then you can get them in very easily. That's a big deal, actually, is you can just like lead with anything, any psychic type, and then just put your energies on your benched Ralts, and then once you get Gardevoir up, you don't even need to spend like an X speed or a Leaf or something like that. If you have that stadium in play, you can just come in with Gardevoir, which means that you can potentially get Gardevoir in very quickly and easily. Litwick, no. Lampent, Chandelure, not really. Chandelure, I guess, has a little bit of abuse to it, but probably it's only going to be even relevant once it's active. Gorgeist, sure. Mimikyu, yes. There's some decent abusers in here. There's going to be decent abusers of existing cards too. Giratina is going to really appreciate the existence of that uh, stadium. I don't know whether every deck is going to have a stadium in it going forward. Obviously, like only psychic decks are going to bother with this one. Um, but I don't know if you would bother to run like a stadium to cancel the opponent's stadium if you didn't get that much of abuse out of it. Because right now, not necessarily. I think a lot of people are just going to chuck starting planes in there. A lot of people are just going to have one copy of starting planes, and then particular people are going to run like training area. But starting planes is kind of, I don't know. Like it's good for everyone, but also it cancels plaza and training area, so that's valuable. Right now, stadiums are just, they just dropped, so we just don't have that much to choose from. But stadiums are going to become a lot more relevant once there's more of them. Our gold card is the Poncho. I feel like there's another gold card in this set too. I think there's two of them. The other one was just put in a different spot with the other super rares, because this is only the super rare trainers. Sightseer's cute. I guess that's my new chase card. Diantha is fine, I suppose. I definitely like the Piers. The Juggler's like an afterthought. I mean, Juggler's been there almost since the beginning. Was Juggler in Gen 1? I think it was. Weren't the trainers in Koga's gym Jugglers? I think so. Juggler was definitely in Gen 2. I think this is the Gen 2 art for it, but I could be wrong. Piers looks pretty good. Shinies. I've always had a sneaking suspicion that the Amistar is playable. That attack effect is really good. Clefable. It's the magical shot Clefable. Hitmonlee. Hitmonchan. It's the Genetic Apex Hitmonchan. Tauros. It's the Tauros from Mythical Island. That's a fun one, where you do bonus damage. I actually ran this. This was a good card for a very brief period. In Mythical Island, this was a playable card. The energy cost was super high, but like being able to one-tap Celebi and Pikachu was actually a big deal. And getting a massive damage on Mewtwo or whatever was also a big deal. Moltres, etc., etc. Believe it or not, this was actually, like, these were valuable benchmarks, being able to do massive damage to things like that. This is like a terrible card in the current day and age, even though they've had it energy ramping, just because 120 is not a valuable benchmark anymore. And that was before Cape back then, too. Stoke Magmar. Flareon EX. This is one of the worst shinies. Just doesn't even look different. Sylveon. I actually have a shiny Sylveon. I didn't do anything to breed it. I just found it in the wild. It was so weird. It's already a pretty rare Pokemon. You usually only encounter one of them at a time in Scarlet Violet. And this dumb little thing just walked up to me, and I was like, holy shit, that's a shiny Sylveon. Caught it in a Premier Ball. Still sitting in my computer. Nice looking Tangela. Tangela's shiny color should have been its default color. Magby looks barely different. Hoa looks barely different. Horsey, Seadra, not very impressive. The shiny Magby's going to be very desired, I feel. And the shiny Pichu looks barely different. Shiny Espeon certainly looks different, but it doesn't look good. Shiny Phanpy barely different. Shiny Donphan doesn't look amazing. Thyro looks pretty cool with the blue shorts. I like that. Slappy Knuckle. Shiny Umbreon looks pretty good. I think that one's quite popular. Shiny Lugia. Latios, Mantike, Latios. I like Latios and Latios colors. Alright, I haven't seen any of the full art, so this is going to be exciting. I don't have the greatest resolution of them. That Roserade looks godlike. It's interesting which cards they bother to give full arts. Beautiful card. Cacnea sitting on a hill. I like all the cards where it's just the Mon sitting in the night with the sky visible. Pavilions and some little what do you call one of those? Arboreum. Buzzwole posing on the top of a building. What is this creature? I mean, obviously it's like a freaky mosquito thing. The 2-star Ogerpon. That rainbow Ogerpon with like fireworks. That's awesome. That's my chase card. Ogerpon Rainbow Ridge or whatever they call it. Reshiram flying. I think it learns fly by level up, doesn't it? It might come with fly. I feel like it might just have fly when you get it. It's like a plot point that all the dragons can fly in Gen 5 and freaking rides off on one. Oh, full art Oricorio Fire. Before the end of this game's lifespan, we will have a full art of all four Oricorios. They look great. Blacephalon and also Blacephalon. It's kind of like the same art um, as its original card back when Extra Dimensional Crisis came out. That guy who went on a date and the girl asked him his favorite Pokemon and he said Blacephalon. All timer. One of the greatest posts on the whole internet. Um, Score Bunny. It's cute. Yo, that Ninetales looking great. Both of them. I like the color scheme on both. I don't like the way the 2-star Megas look. Mega Swampert looks pretty cool. He's doing Earthquake or something. Maybe he's using Strong Arm Destroyer. Aurora's looking pretty. Kramer eating a Pikachu. That can happen sometimes. What's going on here? This is Minun that we're looking at. We got cool stickers on like a random, like, I don't know, pole in Japan. A street that's very obviously Japan. Toxel. It's a house Toxel. Pretty cute. They got lots of toys for it. I don't know how to feel about this Toxtricity. It's kind of cool, I guess. It's kind of terrifying. It's the low voltage Toxtricity, right? There's like a high voltage and a low voltage one. Oh, it's so cute. I will run the Galarian Ponyta. I don't care. I don't even care. I will run Mega Gardevoir plus this Ponyta. Stumble in a Closet. Mega Gardevoir. Mega Gardevoir. It's the cinematic. Don't know what it's going to be like until we get to see it. Meloetta is the other gold card. They must have high opinion on how good it is. Very interesting. The out your deck is powerful. Mimikyu peeking out at you from behind like a alleyway. It's a Pikachu shadow. That's great. I love that. We need like regional Mimikyus. I like this Mimikyu that's imitating a Pikachu, but I'd like to see it imitate some other mons. We got the male Indeedee pouring coffee for people. So female Indeedee cleans teapots and male Indeedee pours coffee. God, I want to be isekai to the Pokemon universe so bad. Sentry rolling around. Looks nice. Gigalith. I forgot that Gigalith is a card. Oh, great art. That's one of my all-time favorites all of a sudden. This Rainbow Ridge Gigalith is looking awesome. The Phalanx was in the trailer, I think. Tyrantrum looking nice. It's like there's like a volcano. It's like an ancient Tyrantrum. This is like, we're looking at it back in the Pokemon Scarlet Area 0 times. In the Protosynthesis times. Muck doing something. I don't know what. Eating trash, I guess. I think it does eat trash. There's a Trubbish there, too. Galarian Obstagoon looks pretty funny. I don't like that Obstagoon is a man. That really bothers me. It feels very unnatural from Zigzagoon and whatever. Linoon. I don't like that it suddenly became man-shaped. Purloin rolling around. Oh no, he made a mess! The Purloin made a mess. That's nice. I like that a lot. Anyone who's owned a cat knows that cats can occasionally just do very destructive things because they feel like it. Yveltal, flying. Looks like it's pretty scary. It's kind of funny that I feel like a lot of the time when I see art for this thing, it's in like a city. It's like the god of destruction here. You feel like it'd probably be flying through those buildings like Omni-Man style and just destroying them. Berserker on like a boat. That's interesting. Has that ever happened? Is this referencing anything? It's nice. I mean, real cats were used on boats. Mega Mawile. It's doing some kind of weird little flippy roll thing, throwing its teeth at us or something. Salamence Ascending. It looks like it's using Dragon Ascent and not Dragon Dive. I kind of feel like Dragon Salamence, I feel like they regret its design. I feel like we've had Roaring Moon and Mega Mence, both with very similar and very iconic, very distinct uh, visual design. And Salamence is very, I mean, it is distinct. It's got a funny head shape and a funny body and funny wings. It definitely doesn't look like other dragons. But I feel like they kind of like that crescent moon wing a lot, and they're like sad they didn't do it for Salamence. Godlike Meowth. Look at him. What a cute Pokemon. I normally don't look at Meowth and think that it's cute, but looking at this, it sure is cute. That's nice eyes. It's got those what's her name? Neko-Arc. It's got those Neko-Arc eyes. Kangaskhan. And wow, the baby. Look at that. What a great shot. It's doing the Akuma back to the camera with the 10 on its back. The heaven. That's great. Absolutely astonishingly good. Um, if you want a nice little cursed thought, the Kangaskhan and the baby Kangaskhan hatched from the same egg, which technically makes them sisters and not a mother and child. Slackoff. That's the last one. Just Slackoff lying in the thing. And that's it. We've actually now looked at all cards. I didn't really try and rate them. Let's just look at the X's real quick. Ogerpon, meta. I think. I don't know. I don't think Grass is going to be doing that well in the current set. But I think that people will run this, and people could potentially run it on other. No, I don't see people running it on other decks. Blacephalon, meta. Ninetales, absolutely meta. Swampert, meta. Have we had a bad EX yet? They all look good to me. Toxtricity, not meta. I don't see anyone trying to make this one work. Gardevoir, this is not even just meta. This is like the new premier threat. Okay, that's a bit strong. I think the premier threat's probably still going to be Blaziken or something. Of all the megas, I think Blaziken is probably still the one, or Altaria. Probably Altaria is still the premier threat. I think Altaria is my pick for the best mega currently. It's hard. It's really hard to say. I find it interesting that we have two golds and like 200 cards, but so far they've only revealed one pack, and I don't see them revealing another. Mimikyu, a maybe. I don't want to just say meta outright for this one. I'm not sure. Gigalith, ass. I'm not even going to zoom in on it. No EX cards for Dark. Mega Mawile, meta. Meta. Mega Kangaskhan, meta. I think most of these are good enough that you're going to see them in top level play. Anyway, I think that's it for the video. Thanks for watching.